Lesson 3: Colons. Here's a brief introduction to colons. Colons are most frequently used when introducing a list of objects. The effect of the colon in creating brief pauses for a reader is similar to that of a dash, but there are distinctions to be made. We'll touch on how to use colons sparingly, and we'll explore some of the functions of the colon through several examples. Now, you've probably seen colons used the most in their basic function, introducing a list of items. For example, he observed the contents of the bag: a letter, pen, and a pair of scissors. Now let's look at another example. The meal he was cooking needed the following ingredients: cumin seeds, coriander, chili powder, turmeric, paprika powder, and ginger. It's important to note that the separate components of this list can be separated by semicolons as opposed to the commas we have used here. But to keep it simple, let's stick with the trusty comma. It's also important to know that the last item in the list always has to follow the word and ginger. Oddly enough, there is no fixed rule on whether to put a comma before and or not. But whichever style you choose, be sure to stick with this throughout your essay to give it consistency. There is a case for using a comma before the and when the list is more complex in nature. So, for example, if we were to say, the meal he was cooking needed the following ingredients: 2 teaspoons of cumin seed, a burst of coriander, a tablespoon of chili powder, some turmeric, a dash of paprika powder, and a pinch of diced ginger. Here, placing the comma before the and just helps to separate the ideas a bit more cleanly, as well as informing the listener that the list stops there. Let's talk about a second use of colons and how we utilize them to answer a thought. We create or present an idea and then complete this thought after the colon. For example, John Dervish was an honest man. He'd never consider anything like stealing an apple or fiddling his taxes. We introduce the idea that John Dervish is indeed an honest man, and then use the colon to introduce our thoughts on why he is honest. The colon almost opens a door, and then we get the explanation in the second part of that sentence, the colon making it a connected idea, a reflection on the first clause. Now another example. Rainy days are always disappointing. You rarely feel like doing anything. See how the two thoughts here are connected, related. We circle back to the first clause with the second. We open the door and then close it again. The phrase is complete. Keep practicing using colons in that way, because as well as adding crucial information, it also provides good rhythm to a sentence. Of course, you could split the idea into 2 sentences, and technically it would be grammatically correct. But without the rhythm, the sentences become just as dreary as the weather itself. Our final use of colons is centered around how we can use this grammatical feature to build anticipation and add suspense. Take this example. Stephen knew the time to act was now. He put on his shirt and went out into the garden. See, the longer pause that the colon gives you adds that little bit of excitement, a little bit of drama, much more than a comma or full stop would. Stephen knew the time to act was now, so he put on his shirt and went out into the garden. The words are exactly the same, but the comma doesn't create this intriguing, foreboding feeling that comes as a result of the colon. The drama is also lost when we use a full stop or period. When you put a full stop between the two ideas, we separate them and stop this natural, exciting rhythm that is otherwise created. A colon indicates that something is coming. The sentence is not over just yet. So let's read it with a full stop in place. Stephen knew the time to act was now. He put on his shirt and went out into the garden. The difference is in the subtle ways that those two different aspects of punctuation prepare your mind. A colon hints that you should expect something more. A full stop ends the sentence right there. We will go into the use of dashes in more detail later on, but they are important to talk about here, as they too add suspense and build anticipation. As well as having a similar pausing effect, the dash is visually more prominent than a colon, which can actually make a big difference to your writing. If a colon opens a door, a dash pushes you through it. These subtle differences are important to know, for as you use them in your essays, we create a visual effect in addition to influencing how the sentence reads. Before we stop this lesson, it's also important to know not to overuse colons or dashes. As they create drama, they should be used sparingly and with impact. If they are included in every sentence, they will soon lose their effect.